Hey guys, Rich from RichMid Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. So in this video, we're going to be covering everything that is 6 threat and above, but we're also going to cover off each of the gems as well. As it worked really well last time and you all enjoyed having him on and having a second opinion, Quinn is back. Quinn, say hi to the people.
Hello there.
Nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off and run through each of the gems in turn. We're going to rank them from S to D. And then we're going to start with the 6 threats without gems, the 6 threat with gems, and then move up to the 7 threats, the 7+ threats, and then finish with Dormammu. So let's start off then, Quinn, with the gems. And we are starting with the Soul Gem, I believe?
Mind.
Mind Gem, there we go, Mind Gem. So Mind Gem, this allows you to advance any enemy character within range 3, I believe it is. I want to say that. Threat 1 costs 2 power to be able to do it. I like this. I think there are 3 gems that are very, very good. 1 gem that's and then 2 gems that are not very good. For me, this is a good gem.
Yeah, I think when discussing gems and like sort of trying to sort them into a tier list, I think it is important to sort of think of what characters can take it. There's only 3 that can take it. It's very good on 2 of those 3 characters. Yeah, it's really solid ability to have. The extra power generation means that it effectively only costs 1 power to do the ability, which is really nice. It's a very impactful ability. We see it a lot on, characters like Enchantress and MODOK, who are very popular. Yeah, I think it's probably... I'd put it around a B or an A, personally.
Yeah, I was thinking high B, low A. I think it sits nicely in a B tier.
Yeah, I think so.
I think especially with the power cost. Obviously, for me, I'm normally playing gems with Thanos, so I forget that they even have a power cost. But yes, that is a thing. So I think in B, it's really good. Power. I think power is the one that can be used by the most characters, I believe.
There's only 3 again, I think. It's just Star-Lord, Ronan, and Thanos, isn't it?
Yeah, you might be right, actually, yeah. So for everyone else out there, power, what does it do? It gives you 1 additional power per round. So 1 innate power in the power phase, 1 from it being a gem, and then 1 from it being a power gem. So for everyone actually that can wield it, it means that they generate 3 power per turn. With Thanos, you could get more potentially if you take a second gem. The characters that can wield it then, for me, not one that I take on Thanos. I think if I'm taking a gem on Thanos, this isn't one of them. I think it does help the other 2 characters, Star-Lord and Ronan. I don't know if you agree or...
Yeah, I think like one of the biggest issues is like it has a fine ability on it, but it's rather expensive for what it does, in my opinion. Taking a character up an entire threat category is a very big leap, and I think just 2 extra power a turn isn't necessarily worth that, because you've got to factor in, all the other characters you could take at that threat level, what their stats are weighed against other character stats, how much that power is impactful. Star-Lord I really don't like in general. I think he's utter garbage. But he becomes even worse with the gem, I think.
Even with that leadership? Are you...
I mean, his leadership's really good, isn't it, Rich?
I used to like it on Star-Lord when drop-off was a thing.
Well, yeah, but you played drop-off in every list.
I did, yeah, with Killmonger. I think the thing I do like about it is it gives you a 1 threat option. So if you come up against a list where, and we've all had it, right? You come up against a threat level that you've just not accounted for in your roster, it can help there. But I think you're right. If you look at the 3 threat characters and the 4 threat characters, and what a 4 threat will do over a 3 threat, or even one step further, that 5 threat over a 4 threat character. I think it's, for me, I don't think it's D tier. I don't think maybe one of them will end up in D tier, but for me, I think it's a C tier.
Definitely D.
Yeah,
I think a solid C is where I'd put it as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. So next up then is the Time Gem. So Time Gem, what does it do? It basically allows you to add a 3rd action to your activation. I think at the moment 3 characters again who can take it.
Once again, 3 characters that can wield
Yeah.
it. Those being Corvus, Doctor Strange, and obviously Thanos, who can wield all of them.
Yeah, and it's important to say that this is a 2 threat cost. So this costs 2 threat. So for me, Corvus and Strange are just an absolute no-no.
Both of them have other gems they would much prefer to have,
Yeah,
I think.
I agree. I really like it on Thanos.
Yeah,
you don't pay for it.
That's the main reason it's really good on Thanos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good in general. I think even if you had to pay, you'd still be pretty okay taking it on Thanos. But the fact he doesn't have to pay makes that a really solid gem.
Well, Thanos has got a 6 dice builder with a throw of any character of any size, right? If that means that you can do that 3 times in one turn rather than twice, that's pretty massive, I think. I think it is dragged down a little bit because it is only really viable with Thanos, but for me, it's still a solid B in terms of what it does.
Yeah, I would agree with a B there. I think that's probably about where it sits.
Cool. Glad we are in agreement. Next up then is the Soul Stone. So this is, I want to say it's range 4, isn't it?
It is.
So range 4 bubble. And basically anytime an enemy character pays for... Oh no, users, sorry. They don't even have to pay for it. Users, is it just reactive and active superpowers?
Yeah, it doesn't work on innate superpowers because otherwise you'd have really weird things where if a character with flight moved, you'd gain power or something like that.
It would be S tier at that point.
Yeah,
but I think it's
usable by 2 characters.
Yes, yeah. So the Soul Stone is Doctor Strange and once again Thanos. Costs 1, I believe. So it takes Doctor Strange up to a 6 threat, takes Thanos up to a 7 threat. I think on both of those characters it's viable. I think more so on Strange, and I think Strange benefits from having it.
A lot of the time it's necessary, I feel, especially if you want to do certain strategies in Defenders, like, shoving portals in your opponent's face and murdering them.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I think just because of the viability it adds to, one of the characters that can hold it, I'd probably put it above the Mind and Time in an A.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think the impact it has on Strange, and, hopefully, characters in the future. We haven't seen all of the Convocation yet. I was surprised to see that the Ancient One wasn't carrying at least the Time Gem. But who knows, maybe some of the others will as well. But yeah, I agree with an A. Reality, S. Is there any other conversation we need to have?
Yeah, I mean, skulls to crits, real good.
Yeah.
Especially real good on, the 2 people that can have it, namely Thanos and Corvus.
I mean, any character that counts skulls as successors is really good. Any character who can not only count skulls as successes, but then add an extra dice into their dice pool from it, it's very, very good. Very, very good.
And not only do they do that, but it's free. It happens innately all the time, and it's only 1 threat, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And then lastly is the space. Yeah, it's not good, is it?
No, I mean, I don't know if the audience will be able to hear this, but I'm currently playing the world's smallest violin for the Space Jam.
I think it is D. So for anyone, again, we'll just run through quickly what it does. It's kind of the opposite of the Mind Gem, in that you get to advance. Is it advance or replace?
It's a range 2 place.
Yeah, so a range 2 place of a character costs 2. Costs 2 threat as well. Is it 1 power or 2 power to perform? I think it's 2 power as well, isn't it?
You can move yourself, which is nice.
You can move yourself, but are you going to really spend? Do you want a Wong or a Rocket or being able to place yourself 2?
I mean, so one of the biggest gripes I have with this gem in particular is it's identical to Red Skull's, I believe. It's either Master of the Cube or Power of the Cube or Cosmic
Yes.
Cube. It's something to do with a cube. But he effectively has a superpower that is identical to this. It costs 1 more power, but he has ways of generating power on his own. And it's 2 threat, whereas Red Skull is a 4 threat. And I think if you're going to, have this gem in your list, why not just take Red Skull instead?
Yeah.
Because then you get, like, for 2 threat, you're getting effectively an entire 4 threat character.
Red Skull can't place himself, can he? I think that's the one.
He can.
Or can he do it as well? Okay, brilliant. I mean, yeah, it's if that's what you're looking for, there are people out there that do it better. Spend 3 threat and take the dog, right?
Yeah.
And you get to move up 3. I think it's not good. But we wanted to do that just to set the scene, because what you're going to see is some of these characters who we have already ranked. A lot of them in the previous video. I think there's a lot of 5 threats. There is 1 4 threat on here as well. But you'll see them move quite a lot up and down based on some of the gems that they're taking. So let's get into the characters then. Starting off with the big green angry machine, Hulk. So counterpart to Murdoch in terms of released at the exact same time. I don't know if it was with the core box or slightly after the core box. But
it was alongside the core box, and I mean, if you take them as sort of box buddies, one of them definitely stole all of the good stuff, and a certain green character got left in the dust.
Does feel like that a little bit, doesn't it? It really does. I mean, he is finding a place more and more with certain lists, and I think the problem with Hulk was that people know Hulk as a soaking damage dealing behemoth, right? That's what he does, right? He soaks up damage. The more damage he takes, the angrier he gets, the more powerful he becomes, and that part of his persona is represented somewhat in the card. The problem is that you can't go charging in with Hulk because he'll just get taken out. There are so many characters in the game that can take him out in 1 or 2 1 or 2 activations.
Hulk will smash, but equally Hulk will get smashed back and not be able to recover from it.
No, absolutely. I think he has found, he's found homes, but it's never in a team, is it? It's always in a particular scenario.
It's always in some sort of weird offset list that does one specific thing and has a game plan.
Well,
I think
Gamma Shelter, right? Thor, Steve, and Hulk, right? That was a thing, wasn't it, for long enough?
I think one of the biggest issues that dear old Bruce Banner faces is just he has an absolute lack of power generation. I spoke about this in the last video with Ebony Maw, but Hulk actually has it worse.
Yes. Because he can't generate
power on his turn.
Yeah, he cannot generate power, and he gets 3 per turn, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough.
You can use one of his superpowers.
He does have the throw, doesn't he? He's one of the few characters that can throw Dormammu, but Dormammu's going to rip him. If you're getting close enough to throw Dormammu, he's ripping you to shreds.
Yeah, and also that is only on an attack as well. His actual superpower throws.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it's only on. Is it Hulk Smash? I think I want to say it is.
Yeah, Hulk Smash. You get in there, you get the wall, and it makes it even more difficult for you to get anywhere near Dormammu, because you have to get near Dormammu and have an action left and have enough power to Hulk Smash, which is just you're living in magical dream Christmas.
He does have what Dormammu has in a large base range 2 place, which is quite nice. So it does mean that he can often move up and still, manage to get 2 attacks off. But yeah, he isn't, he's not the Hulk that everyone wanted, is he? Let's be honest.
No, not by a long shot.
So where do we think? I know what I've got wrote down here, and for me, he is a situational character. And
I'd probably put him in a C tier. I'm not going to be mean and put him in a D. I'd put him in a C.
he's definitely not D, because there are scenarios where you take him and he is a core component to your strategy, right? Versus Ebony Maw, like, you can build a crisis around Hulk. You can't build anything around an Ebony Maw, right? So I agree. I had him down as C tier, so that's good that we agree. Hulk is as good as a power gem.
We need to stop agreeing on things, because otherwise this is going to be a very boring video.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Okay, next up, he's my boy, right? Anyone who knows me knows that the moment Brotherhood came out, I think I may have maybe played 15 other games in the last, year since they've been out, that haven't been Brotherhood. I absolutely love him. I think he brings so much to the game. Far more control than what people give him credit for. Self-sustaining. He generates more than enough power for himself. His leadership ability, for me, is one of the best in the game. Reverse polarity is a amazing builder, especially with the push in any direction. So you can either bring somebody in and then do a follow-up and get them in range 2, or actually sometimes you maybe want to push that, somebody might be right up in your face and you want to push them away twice. With it, I think you can't push them away twice, obviously, because if they're in range 2 you get in your rerolls, but I absolutely love him. I think he's one of the best 6-threat characters in the game. Do you agree?
I agree on a lot of those points. I'm not super hot on his leadership myself. I think it's very good. It's good for the affiliation he is and what the team around him can do. But it's probably sort of a middling leadership in and of itself. It's attached to a very good chassis. And yeah, as you said, he's got a very good form of control, in the sense that you can't do anything with a model if it's dead.
Well, that is another good point, because he does like to destroy people. We mentioned in the video, I think it was the 5-threat one with Angela. There are obviously some characters that he struggles against. Angela is one of them, because she's super high on the defensive stats, but she's also negates all of his rerolls.
Yeah, there's a number of prevalent characters like that, Medusa being another one that just sort of entirely shuts down that side of reverse.
She just pushes him away, right? She just has no time for him and just moves him out of the board. He does struggle from that. He does struggle with that short movement, even on a medium base. You really do need a character potentially in there who can move him up the board. Or you have to take Brothership. I forget the name of it. Asteroid M. There we go. So Asteroid M does help with that. But I think he's really good. I think being able to use his Mystic defense for 2 power, but which is exactly what Ebony Maw has, but he then cannot be thrown or pushed after the fact, is massive. Because you just can't take him down with pushes and throws. For me he's super good, and you want plenty of terrain on the board, because he can just throw shit for days. So he needs to eke out 1 damage on somebody. He doesn't need to waste an attack to do that. He can spend an attack on somebody else, generate some power, pick up a size 3 building, throw it in somebody's face to do 1 damage, and then guess what? Give 3 members of his team, potentially including himself, a power each as well. So yeah, where do you have him? Where would you put him?
I'd probably have him straddling the line between A and S. I know where you put him.
Let's talk about his construct, actually, because I think that's a really key, because we spoke about power generation. I think without that, he would be nowhere near as good. I think the fact that he gets to create his own terrain once per turn or during the power phase, up to 2, and the fact that each one of those generate power for him. So he's pretty much immune to, for the most part, the effects of stun in terms of power, native power generation on that side. Obviously not with attacks and defenses and things. I think I do agree. I think he is an A+, S-. I know if I put him in S, I'm going to get told I'm being biased towards him, but I think he is. I think with what you can do with those constructs as well, penning people in and stopping them from being able to be pushed and moved, which is one of the counters against Medusa, is you do put that behind you. I'd like to put him in S, but if you were adamant on A, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
We'll put him in A. Let's be honest.
In A?
We both love
or S?
We'll put S.
S.
We both love ourselves mags. Let's be honest.
We do love a Mags. Even though he's got the wrong name in the game. But yeah, we do love a Mags. Okay, the actual better version of the big green monster next, which is She-Hulk. Obviously, only leader of the Air Force. 20 stamina, medium move. Something we didn't cover on Hulk's card actually is they're the only 2 characters in the game that do not have an injured side. Size 3, obviously 6 threat, 3/4/3 on her defensive stats, so already beating out Hulk on that side. She's just a better version of Hulk, right?
She's a much better version of Hulk because she can actually generate power, which
Yeah.
is kind of important in this game. Funnily enough, it's a core mechanic. Yeah, I think so. At the moment, I think she struggles with the fact that she's 20 health, no injured side. And at the moment, I'm like, she's the only leader of A-Force. A-Force has an okay leadership ability. They've got a great card in the form of special delivery, getting her into the fray. Solves another issue that Hulk has. At the moment, and I'll give my reasoning for this in a moment, I'd probably put her around B. And the reasoning for that is the fact that all you've got isn't banned yet.
Yeah, and we didn't cover all you've got on Magneto either, which is obviously, amazing on him. I also had her down as B. I think her leadership ability is okay. One power when you take damage, is all right. It's not amazing. I do like it's not called aggressive, is it? But I do like the aggressive that she has.
What's that called again?
Is it legal? Not legal defense. Gamma transfusion. It's part of the gamma transfusion. So I do like that. I think that's really nice. She's obviously got the throw. Defense rests as a 5 cost is an okay spender.
She's got a great throw. Add extra dice up to the size of a character. Also great.
But you're right. She struggles with not having a flip side. I think.
I think at the moment I'd have her in a B. But then I think if all you've got banned, then I could see her begin to straddle the line between B and A, probably shifting more towards A.
I agree. Similar thing with Hulk. She struggles from not having a dazed side. I'd have much rather seen even a 10-10 split. I think would have been a lot more powerful than one lot of 20, because she never gets that opportunity, does she, to come back and spend that power if she is taken out in one turn. I had her down as B. I'm happy to put her in there. I think that's probably where she deserves to be, really, with where the game is at the moment. Okay, one of my other favourite characters in the game. Who'd have thought, right? 3 of my favourite characters are in this list, and we are on the 6+ threat list.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Mad Titan himself, Thanos. So on his healthy side, he is 8 stamina, medium move, size 3, 3/3/4. We spoke about his strike before, so 6 dice with a throw of any size, so he's one of the few characters that can throw Dormammu. Cosmic Blast, range 3, 5 strength, costs 0, but you have the ability to spend up to 3 power to add 3 more or up to 3 more dice to the attack. So potentially an 8 dice range 3 energy, which, you know, costing 3 power is pretty strong. Let's start with his attacks, because they're nothing special, are they, his attacks for Thanos?
No, not particularly. Yeah, Thanos is one of those characters that I struggle with conceptualizing as just a 6 threat, because I don't think I've ever actually seen him played at that threat.
No, I personally know I've never played him at 6 threat. There are significantly better 6 threat characters out there. Yeah, well, yeah, there are. There are at least 2. I'm looking at the list now, going, are there 3? Yeah, there's at least 2. You know, or you know, a 4 threat and a 2 threat, right, are significantly better than a Thanos. Really, for me, and again, it's a little bit like Hulk, where people see Thanos as this guy who can just lay the smack down, right? He can beat on down, but once again, it's Thanos's support and control side of it. He's one of the few characters, I think, that does straddle maybe all 3 of those pillars of what people do.
I think so.
But it's really his support and his control piece that really make him shine. But he needs power to do that. So Cosmic Portal, any character within range 4, or any other character, it doesn't work on himself, place them 2. Sounds fairly straightforward. It can be horrendous for your enemy, moving them off point. It can be amazing for characters like a Magneto, who need to be moved up that board early game. Or it can be really good for getting a character into position to then do a strike with the hope that you get a wild and, you know, being able to throw them into one another. And it's also important to point out that you can use that as many times as you want in a turn. The limit is that every character can only be affected by it once. So you can't move Magneto 3 times up the board or anything like that. But that's a really powerful superpower, right, Quinn? Only costing 2.
It's absolutely huge, but I think with 6 threat Thanos, it's a lot harder to pull off, simply because all of his power generation is based around his strike. He generates 1 a turn. If your opponent has a way of controlling him, they're just going to send him away on like a merry little dance and never have to worry about him. And that's 6 threat sort of wasted in a sense.
No, I agree. We'll go through his card in more detail, and then we'll sort of skim through it on the other ones. Death Decree. This is, you know, cost 2 power. Basically, give an allied character 2 more dice for that particular attack. It's not for the whole attack action. It's just for the 1 attack. And apologies, you can hear a police car go by. But if they're on their injured side, they add 4 dice to their attack. It takes Toad on his injured side to a 9 dice spit acid for 2 cost on him and 2 cost on Thanos. Like, when you break it down like that, you realise, you know, how good it is. You know, people like Magneto, Corvus on his injured side, it just becomes absolutely phenomenal.
It all becomes a little bit silly, doesn't it?
It gets a bit daft. Absolutely gets a bit daft. So then his last, or his first of his innate superpowers, I should say, being of immeasurable power. It basically means 2 things. Is it 2 things? Yeah, 2 things. 3 things. It gives him 3 things. It reduces all the damage he takes from enemy effects. So that is attacks, throws, that sort of thing, by 1. Doesn't cost him any power to do it, and there is no limit. So a lot of the other characters, I think all of the other characters out there that have the innate ability to reduce damage, they reduce it to a minimum of 1. You do have Crossbones and Kingpin who can pay to reduce it completely, but Thanos is the only one who just goes, nope, you're not doing any damage to me, which makes his 3/3/4 so much better than what it looks like at first glance, I think.
Yeah, it's such a immense ability. It effectively makes him immune to a lot of lower threat characters, which I think feels very thematic.
Yeah.
And like I think in the state he is at sixth threat, it's really good, but you're still going to go down to a dedicated beta, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So the other two parts of this then are around his gems. So Thanos is the only character in the game who can carry all of the gems. He is the gem bearer, which is his second innate ability. But he can carry 2 gems at once, which is why you hear things like a 9-threat Thanos. You can get a 10-threat Thanos, but as we covered with the other 2-threat gem, it's not really worth it. But on top of that, he can also use those gems for free. So 1 gem, what does it give him? It's going to give him some extra power, but then he doesn't need to spend that extra power using whatever it is the gem's giving him. So whether it's the time or the mind, or, well, that's really it, the time or the mind gem.
Oh, the space gem though, Rich. The space gem is so good.
Yeah. With all that said, Thanos for me straddles as a 6th threat, and everyone has to remember this, as a 6th threat, straddles as a B, C character.
Ooh.
I would, he's a very high C, very low B for me. I'm edging towards the B, but what do you think, Quinn?
I think he's probably the worst 6th threat in the game. I think he probably belongs in D tier, if I'm honest.
No, he's not. He's not the worst 6th threat in the game.
He is. He's the worst natural 6th threat in the game, I think.
Maybe
natural 6th threat. Natural 6th threat.
Is he worse than Hulk? Yeah. We didn't talk about his... Well, so to the other side... So actually, we didn't talk about his leadership, because he is the leader of the Black Order. So that's an important thing to point out. And he has a unique leadership, doesn't he, in that it flips on his Days side. Yep. So he's got Death's Agenda, where basically KO an enemy, score a VP. Doesn't sound like much. Scoring VPs outside of cleanup is huge. There are only, I want to say, 2 other characters that can do it. I'm probably wrong. Killmonger and Black Widow.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right? I don't think there's any...
I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think there's any others. But it's, do not underestimate, especially when typically in Black Order, you win by murdering your opponent. That's just how you win. On his flip side, he has... it's a bit of a mouthful, but basically... you may suffer up to 3 damage and then re-roll. So when you're attacked, you can... when you're attacking, you can take up to 3 damage to re-roll up to 3 of your attack dice, which I'm not a massive fan of on his flip side. I think it's significantly weaker than his...
It feels like if you're using that superpower, you're probably getting desperate.
Yeah, you're probably right. So we're saying, well, I think we split the difference. I think we say he's I think we put him in C, because we're about to get to another 6th threat character that.
I just saw where your mouse was. Like, oh yeah, probably.
So guys, that is it for the natural 6 threats. So we'll jump into now with starting off with a 4-threat character, Corvus Glaive, who we've covered twice before. So I think let's just run over really quickly. In our 4-threat list, he was B. In our 5-threat list with the reality gem, he was an S tier. That's how good the reality gem is, guys. It took him from being a B tier to an S tier. With the time gem, you would think that he would go above B, right? Because you're getting 3 activations and he's so good at damage, right? Surely that's how it'll work, Quinn. Is that a thing?
I hate to break it to you, Rich, but no.
Well, luckily, I also have him lower. I had him as a C.
I think that's probably about fair. I don't think he's quite bad enough to be a D. He's still better than someone else that's on this list.
Oh, he definitely is. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably better than 2 people that are on this list, actually, looking at it.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, because there is another one. Yes, yeah, there is another one. Because there is another 4 threat character on here as well, isn't there?
Really?
Yeah, for me, he has to pay for it first of all, so he doesn't get it for free. He has to pay the power. It is already, it is taking up another slot in your roster. So if you're taking Corvus, you're probably taking Proxima. If you're taking Corvus, I mean, if you're not taking the Reality Gem, just have a little word with yourself.
If you're not taking the Reality Gem, what are you doing with your life?
I am one to tell anybody to play any character they want, but take the goddamn Reality Gem with Corvus, right? It is.
No, don't do that, because then people will like you.
It is worth it. But yeah, it's not worth it. It doesn't add anything to him. He's already got triggers allowing him to do, more attacks. For me, it's not D, but it's C tier.
I
most
think,
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, moving on then to Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange with the Soul Gem. So he's 5 threat normally. With the Soul Gem, it takes him up to 6 threat. But for me, it really solves all of the problems, and there's not too many problems, by the way, that Doctor Strange has. Right?
I absolutely love Doctor Strange. He's one of my favourite Marvel characters, potentially one of my favourite, good guys in Marvel, even though he's a bit of a dick. And yeah, the Soul Gem opens one immense possibility for him in Defenders, and also just generally helps him with his power economy, which, considering he has lots of ways to spend it when it's not his turn. Well, he has one way to spend it that's not when it's not his turn, and it's a very good way to spend it.
Yeah,
is really vital,
and can be spent multiple times, right, in the same turn. Is really, really good. And we spoke about adding dice will always be better than re-rolling dice. You're always going to get more successes with more dice rather than re-rolling the dice that you had previously, because it's basically more chances for a crit, right? So
yeah,
that's just the way it works. We had him, and we agreed. We put him in A tier, without the gem. I mean, for me, it has to go up, right? He has to be S tier with the gem.
I think just the reason he's S tier is because of the pentagrams of Ferala. Being able to put out those portals turn 1,
it's huge.
Is so incredibly good. It's what every Defender strategy is built around, and there's a reason why.
Yeah. Really interested to see how he will work with the new Astral Ring, is it called? Because we had this conversation earlier, didn't we? And, his gem, according to the rules of the game, because it is a superpower, will trigger from the ring, which means that you can, move up and place that within 3 and be even further away from your enemy and still soak up all of that power, potentially even turn 1. Because that's, turn 1 people are doing a lot of shenanigans, right? They're using, Red Skull's gaining his power from Cosmic Cube, and Wong doesn't synthesize, Vision synthesizes, and all these people are doing all of these sort of turn 1 plays.
Wong of being a plant.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's absolutely in the right place. S tier, nowhere else for him to be. At the other side of the scale, so we put Ebony Maw in D tier without the gem. Does does the Mind Gem, which we've already said is a B tier gem, does it get him out of D tier?
Does it split the difference and put him into a C tier? Well, there's a very long-winded answer to this, and I don't know if you're ready for
Should we just put him there?
The answer is no. He's still awful.
He's still very, very bad. And again, when me and Quinn are saying awful, very, very bad, please, guys, take it with a grain of salt, right? If you want to play Ebony Maw and you enjoy playing him, play him, right? We're not telling anyone to not play anything here, but there are definitely for a 6-threat character, there are options out there that will help you play this game much, much better. But if you like him, play him, but he's D tier.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to break into your house and fold up your game mat and throw it out the window because you've played Ebony Maw. Some people...
Or Nagoldar might, because as we've covered in previous videos, he does know where people live.
He does know where you live. If you like him, and he has an absolutely gorgeous model. I think we should mention that. That's the one redeeming feature of dear old Ebony Maw.
Yes.
His miniature is great.
Yeah, it's a really nice model. Really, really nice model. But I think, I spoke about in some of my other videos that, the gap between being an S and being an A, it's never that much. Even from an A to a C, right? You ask 10 people about one character, they're probably going to give you a range of 3 between them all. I would say that Ebony Maw at 6th threat and Doctor Strange at 6th threat is probably the biggest gap between any two characters.
Very much so.
At a given threat level. Yeah, at a given threat level. Yes, Enchantress is a, really good 4-threat character. And actually, no, Valkyrie is a really good 3-threat character. Bullseye is arguably the worst. But you can make Bullseye work. The gap isn't that, it's not insurmountable. The gap between these two is insurmountable. It's night and day. Speaking of really bad characters with gems, Loki with the space gem.
I don't think Loki's a really bad character. I just think the space gem is garbage.
Sorry, yeah, did I say... No, I meant as in... really bad characters with space gems. With gems as in... Yeah, not that they're bad characters.
No,
but yeah.
It's on record now, Rich.
I've just said it, haven't I? I just said it.
We wanted them to hate you.
Where did we place him?
I believe we placed him in a B. In a B?
I think we placed him with B, didn't we? And I had him at B before. We left him at B. I think he drops down 2.
D.
He's in at D. There's no part of Loki that needs what he's got with that gem. And he has to pay. Would you rather pay the 2 power for that, or make sure you've got 2 power in your back pocket for I Am a God or Trickster?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, and I mentioned this in the last video. Go check that out if you haven't. We like it when you click on Rich's videos. So it's just one of those things with gems and how they work in terms of making a character that's a certain threat cost more. And you get a cool effect, you get extra power, and that's great, but none of your other stats change.
Yeah.
And that becomes an issue the further and further away from your sort of native threat you go, is that those stats become, further and further from what you need at that threat level. Being a 5/5 with 3/3/4, you can count blanks if you want. It's just not good enough to be a 6th threat. You're just
do you want a space gem with your Loki, or do you want to have an Okoye following him round, right?
Yeah,
and just
that sounds pretty good, I'll be honest.
Yeah, so I think D tier is absolutely right. And actually, one of the things that we haven't... Oh, no, that's it. Ebony Maw with Mind Gem. Okay, that is it for the 6 threat characters. We do have 2 7 threat characters. We'll start with Doctor Strange. So he's
I
been
think it's bold calling one of those a character, but sure.
he's been A tier by himself, S tier with the soul. I think time helps him in one regard, in that it gives him an extra power. It means that he can move, attack. So using that second attack to generate more power. It's definitely not as good as a soul gem, right? It is not soul gem
No.
tier good. He has to pay for it, so it does cost. So he's essentially, to use that gem, he is a net one. If he rolls badly on the attack that you do with him, he's losing 1 power per turn for carrying it. What do you think? What are your thoughts with the time gen on him?
So I think once again this comes back to the whole thing of gems and characters and taking them out of threats they probably should be. If you're investing 7 threat into Strange, like Strange is an absolutely brilliant character, A tier on his own, S tier with the Soul Gem. Once you take him into that sort of realm of 7 threat, his stock declines massively. I think I'm hesitant to in my mind, he's sort of straddling the line between B and C.
Yep, that's exactly where I was putting him. Exactly where I was putting him. I think, personally, I think he is better than a Corvus with the time gem. His stats are better. He can do a lot. He can do a lot more with it. I think for me, I think he's a B. I think with the time gem, he's a B. And I feel like that's probably about right. By himself, he's A. With the soul gem, he's an S. But he does drop a tier with the time gem, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd err more towards the side of C personally, but I'm fine having the B if that's where you want him. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that it's a very expensive gem. It enables you I think if you couldn't take Strange with the Soul Gem, he'd be great. But you can. So he's not effectively you're getting something that's better for 1 threat less.
Yeah.
Which I think then devalues the stock of Time Strange even further, pushing him down from a B into a C.
No, I agree. Actually, I agree. Now you've convinced me, Quinn.
I'm very persuasive.
Ebony Maw, by the way, is moving nowhere with the worst gem and being the worst 5 threat in the game.
Honestly, I think we should make him his own tier in terms of just make it E. E for Ebony Maw. No other characters go in there, but he
we don't need to talk about him. Now, with this next one, this is now Thanos with gems. So this is a 7+ threat character, because if you're taking a gem on Thanos, he's got to be at least 7 threat. To try and work out every iteration of what gems to take on Thanos would have just been impossible. Oh, not impossible, but this video would go from being, about an hour long to being maybe 4 hours, I think.
Probably, I reckon it'd double in length.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give my views, Quinn, because I've played Thanos with gems a lot.
How have you?
And then I'll let you give your thoughts. For me, there are 3 viable gems with Thanos, and they are the time gem, they are the reality gem, and they are the mind gem. For me, they are my top tier gems to take with Thanos. Now, it's strange because one of them doesn't cost a power, being the reality gem to use anyway, but it's so good that, it everything that it brings for Corvus Glaives, it brings for Thanos as well. It's really, really good. The mind gem and the time gem, you don't have to pay the power associated with using them. Becomes super, super powerful on Thanos. I like taking 2 gems on Thanos when I'm playing. I often have 3 gems in my Thanos roster, and I really think he is the only character in the game that you could really say is his own affiliation, but out of affiliation. Obviously, we have Dormammu now. He is his own affiliation. But I would, whilst I play Brotherhood, I would consider my Brotherhood list to be a Brotherhood Thanos list. It is a Brotherhood list built around taking Thanos. You can do the same with Avengers. I think you can do the same, Quinn, correct me if I'm wrong, with pretty much any. Maybe A-Force doesn't really work, but then it kind of does a little bit. But he fits in most affiliations. You can build around him. For me personally, the gems only make what he had so much better. He's an S tier for me the moment you slap a good gem on him. Slap the wrong gems and he's D, but the right gems and he can be S tier.
Yeah, I think I would agree wholeheartedly with that. He is effectively a one-man army unto himself. Like, you can bring cheerleaders for him, but he will just absolutely destroy things around him.
And with the two. So if you take the right gem, so if you take the mind gem, with the time gem even, so the mind and the time, or even the mind and the reality, what you're getting there is two placements almost, or one placement and an advance, and it becomes so powerful because you don't have to move him up. You know, quite often with Thanos, you're bringing characters to you so you can then punch them in the face and throw them, as opposed to, having to move up and get towards them. But if you do need to do that, if you take the time gem, it becomes a non-issue anyway. People that have seen my games know I absolutely love him. He was my favourite character in the game, I would say. But for me, if you take the right gems, he is easily an S tier. I don't know if you are you happy with that?
That's a very ominous was there, Rich.
It was a very ominous was, wasn't it? I still think, well, there is no doubt in my mind with the time and the reality gem, he is the single most powerful character in the game. Now, he's the single most costly character in the game at that point. He costs 9 threat, but he doesn't suffer in the same way as other characters who are a 4 threat and all of a sudden become a 6 threat. He doesn't suffer in the same way because his stats are already quite good. But yeah, are you happy with S tier for him?
I'm perfectly happy with S. He's so impactful.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dormammu. Now, between us, I don't want to say we've played more games with Dormammu than anyone else, but I think probably
the designers had played more, but yeah.
Well, yeah, outside of people that work for AMG, I'd say we probably have, and I think we've both got to grips, haven't we, with how good he can be,
and equally
how bad he can be, and I think in the same way as you can build an army around Thanos, if you take the wrong gems, if you take the wrong, in this side, with Dormammu's case, characters, he can fluctuate up and down this list so much depending on which characters you take with him.
A coin flip character in terms of, if the wind is blowing the right direction, it'll land on heads. If it's not, it'll land on tails. And for that reason, I'd probably say a B for him because it's very middle of the road.
Yeah, I think at the moment, yes. Will I change my mind once we've seen his tactics cards? I think he could have 2, because he only gets 2 tactics cards, right? And he's realistically is not going to get any more because just the way that his affiliation works, we're not going to be getting another character that is affiliated with the Dark Dimension, at least not for a long time. And realistically, I can't think of anyone that would be. I do think his tactics cards could push him up to A, potentially S, because I think they could be that good. But I think you're right. At the moment, with the evidence we've got, he is hit and miss, literally hit and miss. Very, very dice dependent. Really, really dice dependent. His builder. Sorry, he doesn't have a builder. His builder in quotation marks only gains power from sapping, and he's only 6 dice. I want to say 6 dice. I think. So you might roll one. Chances are you'll roll one. But he is not. I would definitely say he's not a beginner character. You don't want to come in and pick Dormammu as your first leader to take, and then just pick your 9 favourite characters to take alongside him. He needs control, I would say, and he needs some level of support. But that's not all you can do. The first game, if you didn't see it, that me and Quinn had, I had in my mind that he needed just support characters, and with that he would be able to destroy in the same way that Thanos is a one-man army. Dormammu will go down like a sack of shit if you don't have people around him that can boost his defense dice or give him, bodyguard or something like that. And
beat the threats on the board.
Yeah, Angela just destroys him, absolutely destroys him. So I think right now B is about right for where he is. But I hold the the card to say that once we see his tactics cards, which may even be now already. We recorded this video last week, the day that the video was done for the Dormammu Ultimate Encounter. So we may have already seen him and we just don't know it. So actually, if that is the case, Quinn, I'm going to come back in and edit this video and move him up, or indeed down, potentially, depending on if we have seen those tactics cards or not. So I'll do that. So there'll be some wording on the screen or whatever. Hey guys, Future Rich coming at you. We did see his cards. His tactics cards are absolutely amazing. So we are pushing him up to A tier.
I will just, preface this sort of ranking with we are only mere fools that play on TTS, and we don't even know how measurement tools work properly. So what do we know about Dormammu?
Most players on TTS don't really know how to play the game properly in real life. Anyway, is the thing that I've taken away from this week.
The tokens, I don't understand. Why is that not a thing?
No, because apparently doing something over and over and over again more than you could do in person is a bad thing. So, guys, we jest.
What one of us jest?
I jest. I can't speak for Quinn. But yeah, I think this is a fair list. I think there's nobody in A tier, which was a bit surprising for me. But realistically, there's nobody in there that deserves to be A tier right now. Like I said, Dormammu could move up potentially. I think it'd take a lot. Both tactics cards would have to be, absolutely phenomenal. I think to put him up all the way to S tier. If he had a deal with the devil card, I think he would be S tier, right? But there's no, we're in full agreement on that one, Quinn.
I mean, I hope that's not a thing that happens, but it might be.
I don't think he would do. I don't think he has that ability, though, does he? But
no, Dark Restoration is going to be some sort of heal, I'd imagine.
So, guys, there we are. That is our threat list for every character in the game. That is the series done now. Let me know that in the comment section. What sort of series would you like to see next? I think having somebody on like Quinn, it's really nice to be able to bounce off each other. I think it's a lot more balanced view than me just saying Thanos is amazing, he's S tier, and Ebony Maw's rubbish. I think although we both agree on that side.
I mean, yeah.
But I think it's quite nice. Let us know down in the comments. Do you disagree with us completely? Do you think the Space Gem is the best gem in the game? I would question your sanity, but if that's what you think, that is absolutely fine.
If you want to think wrong, then think wrong.
Guys, remember we've got all of the competitions running at the moment. They'll be all down in the description below. Quinn, do you want to say bye first this time? Because
No, I don't think I will.
No? Okay, perfect. Guys, remember these are a bit of fun. Don't play any characters you want. We always say this in the tier list. Leaves me just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.